It's the battle of modern life. It's in the food we eat, the houses we live in, and the cars we drive. One of the most important commodities in the world, oil. But what if it all suddenly disappeared?
Martial law has been declared to deal with the emergency.
Shipments are being delivered to New York.
Hundreds of thousands are on the move. They say the cities are growing too dangerous.
What might happen to our cities, our food, our very way of life? Today, our worst nightmare begins. Today, the world runs out of oil.
There's very strong evidence that we're reaching the peak in our ability to extract and supply oil. The more determined we are to keep driving the cars we're driving now and driving the same amount, the more the price has to go up to wrestle supply and demand back into balance. Now, soon after that, we can anticipate a peaking in the supply of natural gas. Even in the case of coal, recent revised estimates using modern techniques have led to vastly reduced estimates in the supply of coal. That will be a shock because the overwhelming opinion right now is that we have lots of coal, and I think we're going to be in for a very rude surprise.
Biofuels come from natural, renewable sources like plants, so they have the potential to reduce our reliance on those limited supply fossil fuels and reduce the risk of climate change. A potential solution, using cellulose instead of corn grain to make ethanol. Cellulose is far more abundant than corn grain and takes less energy to produce. In fact, it's the most abundant organic molecule on the planet. Cellulose is the main ingredient found in a plant's cell wall. Plants generate cellulose from water and carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. So whereas using fossil fuels produce carbon dioxide, using cellulose-based ethanol might help remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The main obstacle is that the cellulose molecule, a long connected chain of glucose sugar protected by a tough molecular sheath, is difficult to break apart. Creating cellulose-based ethanol means first unwrapping that protective sheath and then chopping up the cellulose into its individual glucose molecule. Only once we have unpacked each glucose molecule can we begin fermentation. But some microorganisms, like bacteria or fungi, break down cellulose for energy all the time. For example, dairy cows eat foods like hay or alfalfa, which are full of cellulose. Microbes that live in their stomachs produce an enzyme called cellulase, which breaks apart the cellulose molecules so that the cow can use what's left for energy. Researchers are now studying these kinds of microorganisms in the hopes of finding better ways to break down cellulose so we can use it for our own energy needs. To test whether or not a sample of microbes can break down cellulose effectively, researchers first grow the microbe in a test tube. Then, they add a source of cellulose as the sole form of energy. If the microbe can't produce cellulase and break down cellulose, the test tube will remain unchanged. But if the microbe produces the enzymes we are looking for, it will be able to break down cellulose, use it for energy, and thrive in its test tube environment. If our microbial sample can break down the cellulose in the test tube, there is a chance we can use it to create a renewable and sustainable source of fuel for our cars from cellulose.